Hey guys, we're here with the Hollywoodlife Podcast, and my co-anchor, Ali Stagnita, and I are so excited because we have one of our favorite guests back, and she has so much to talk about. And when you hear her name in 1 second, you will know what I mean when I say so much to talk about. We are here with Rachel Lindsay. Welcome.
Thank you, guys. Yay! I'm so happy to be back. You know I can't stop talking when I'm talking to the two of you, so I'm excited to get into it.
Yes, we are really excited to get into it.
The last time that you were here, I think that clip from our podcast went viral. Our YouTubers loved it. Yes, oh my gosh. So we're just going to make some drama for them again here.
Yeah, let's do it.
We don't have to. There's just news.
Just news.
Yes. And when you came in here last was just a few months ago. And I think it was literally a week before you moved to Miami to finally move in with your fiance in his hometown, Brian Abasolo. And since then, you are now a Mrs.
Yeah.
I still can't believe it, you guys. It's been 2 weeks, a little bit over 2 weeks at this point.
That's all?
I'm married,
wow.
had a honeymoon. I know, I'm back.
Like you're right after the honeymoon.
Yeah, we went right after. We thought about taking some time, I guess like a week or two in between. But then we were like, you know what? Let's just go for it. And I just completely disconnected. Yeah. Other than Instagram, of course, letting people know how great the honeymoon was, I disconnected from everything else.
It looked beautiful.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, you had gorgeous pictures in bikinis and great dresses. And you were on Mykonos. And where else were you?
We went to Santorini and we went to Athens. I love history, so I was like, we have to stop by Athens. We just have to spend a day there. It was dreamy. We thought about going to Italy, but Greece was enough. I mean, spending the romantic time in Santorini, spending the party time in Mykonos, realizing we can't do it like we used to at all. I mean, we partied one day and then the next day we were done.
Oh my God.
And then
so did you go out to a club there?
We did. So funny enough, some of my good friends at the wedding, we found out they were going to Greece the same time we were. So we had opposite times in Santorini and Mykonos, but we had one day that overlapped. And so we met up with them and another couple, and we partied it out. And it was a good time.
Did you guys get sick of each other at all on the honeymoon?
No, we didn't get sick of each other, but it was funny because I kept saying, well, I haven't changed my last name yet. I haven't we didn't, and it's funny you say that because when we got back, we go, well, we didn't kill each other at the end of it.
Well, that's good. The marriage has lasted 2 weeks.
Yes. Congrats.
We're on a roll.
Well, listen, I mean, you're one of the success stories out of Bachelorette and Bachelor, and the Bachelorettes have been, more successful in general in terms of finding true love. And you and Brian, you took your time after you got engaged on the Bachelorette. You didn't rush into marriage. You didn't even rush into kind of moving because you were a lawyer based in Houston.
And in Dallas.
Oh, sorry.
In Dallas. No, it's fine. I actually I call Houston my second home. I have a lot of family there. No, we decided to get to know each other away from the cameras in real life. That was so important. And it's funny because, I got a lot of heat at the end of my finale, and everybody thought I wanted a ring and I just wanted to be married immediately. And it was like, no, I wanted engagement because I want that serious commitment. But then I want to take time to date him off camera and get to know him. And that's exactly what we did. And we did it on our terms, on our time. And I'm so glad we did it that way.
Yeah, that's what I think is so beautiful, too, about JoJo and Jordan. And we've talked about this just before. And definitely in our last podcast, too, I think that we spoke just about how they've taken their time and how things were not good after the cameras went off. And then probably, I think it was when you were away, he re-proposed.
Actually, he did it the day after our wedding. Oh. And I remember thinking, I think he did it the day of, but she announced it the day after. And I remember thinking, thank you, JoJo, for not announcing it the same day as the wedding. I felt like, I haven't talked to her, but I just, knowing the type of person that she is, I truly felt like she was like, you know what, that's her day.
Oh,
I'm going to announce it the day after. I really felt that she did it that way. But the ring, oh my gosh.
And just beautiful. How lovely and personal it is. And I think that you and Brian have taken this 2 years, I have 3 years, to
2 years,
have 2 years to find that with each other too.
And to make sure that it was real, because
exactly.
you know, in the heat of the moment when you're being filmed and it's on television, I imagine that there's a lot of pressure too to make decisions.
And trust yourself to make the right decisions because we don't have that connection with the outside world. It's just you know, and your gut.
You and you got.
And so tell us all about your dream wedding. The pictures look beautiful.
Thank you. It's funny because coming into the wedding, I think, so when I was here last, I had a wedding planner and he's asking me all these questions. And I was like, I don't know. I just want to have a good time. I don't know. I just want to party. And I just want everybody to, you know, get along and just celebrate love and life all in one place. And then as I was in New York, I think when I was here, I was picking stuff out.
You were going to pick stuff out for the wedding.
Yes, I think I was here. Oh my
Yes,
gosh,
you were going to
full
look at
circle moment,
dresses.
you guys.
I know. And you were with Mikey.
Yes.
Your event planner is Mikey.
Yes.
And he's wonderful.
Mikey's amazing. And I just kept it with Mikey, things just started to come to fruition. The colors started to come. I didn't have a color scheme. I knew we were going to have an island wedding or a tropical wedding. It turned out to be in Mexico. It was a dream for me. My dream wedding was always that I would be surrounded by the people that I love the most, and they would celebrate our love, and we'd make a promise to each other in front of those people, and then we'd just party the night away. That's it. I wasn't really caught up in the details. Thank God for Mikey, because he was, and it turned out to be absolutely stunning. I can't take any of the credit for it. Mine was more just about being surrounded by certain people and having a certain vibe for the wedding. And we accomplished that.
And
rather than the details. And he took care of, like, what colors did you decide on?
Yeah, green and like champagne. And that came to fruition just by picking out the invitations. It just all kind of came together because we were in Mexico and we were like, oh, well, these flowers would look great and this would look great. And it turned out perfectly. And then Brian wore a champagne tuxedo to match that. I was not in a green dress.
And you were really, because when you and I spoke, we were in the Hamptons and went to the Not Registry House that you worked really closely with. And when you and I spoke, you were like, I just want the dance floor to be lit.
Yes.
Like you were like, you told me the story when you were younger about these families just coming together on the dance floor, and that's how they were like joined together. How was the dancing? Was it everything that you imagined it to be?
And did you take your shoes off? Like, how did you dance?
There's a story behind that. The wedding that I told you about that was my cousin's wedding, she was actually at my wedding too with her husband, and she said, I read that you said that about our wedding. She was like, I was 15, and she said, I can't believe you remembered that. And I go, no, it always stuck out in my mind, these two different families coming together and dancing the night away. And that's exactly what we did. We had the light up dance floor, it changed colors, we had the R&B right in the middle. The party started at 8:30, it ended at about 2 in the morning.
Wow, that's good.
We didn't even do an exit. Our exit was just, oh, the music stopped. Okay, what's next? And to answer your question, Bonnie, about the shoes, I did change from my shoes into flats. Brian was dancing so much, he got blisters on his feet and was wearing hotel slippers by the time the night ended.
Oh my God.
So we had a good time.
Yes.
And then my Instagram story the next day was a bottle of alcohol in the bed with my weave.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, safe to say we had a good time.
Oh my gosh. It looked so stunning. And your dress was amazing.
Thank you.
By Randy.
Yes, Randy Rom, she did it again. She captured a whole other side of me, and I knew Brian would love that dress. But then I thought it showed a softer side of me. It's a far cry away from the pantsuit that I wanted to wear.
That's right. I remember you saying you wanted to do a pantsuit at first. Now, had Brian seen the dress before you walked down the aisle?
No, he hadn't. But we needed to get that People magazine picture. But I was very adamant that I did not want, I haven't told the story yet, I was very adamant that I did not want to see Brian before. But we had to get this picture because we didn't trust our friends to not take pictures and show them, which they did, some of them. And so I stood there with my back to the door. Brian came in backwards and just had to reach for me. And you can kind of tell that that's the energy in the picture. Like, we're standing like this, like we're holding hands, but we're not looking at each other. And that's the first picture that came out. And you can kind of, like, if you go back and you
So you
look
told
at
him
it,
not to
you
look
can
at
say,
you?
not to look at me. So he could feel the dress. Because he was like, oh, is that seems like it's a poofy skirt. And I'm like, okay, that's not how we refer to it. It's not a poofy skirt. And you will see it when you walk down the aisle. But yeah, it was
really
very
funny.
important for him. I just didn't want to do the first look.
I love that. So when you did see him when you were walking down the aisle, was it just like, did you cry?
I didn't cry. I think I kept saying you're going to see two different Rachels walk down the aisle. Either the one who's smiling and kind of pointing and just so excited, or the one who's just zoned in, tunnel vision, and emotional. And once I got up there, I think I was just overwhelmed by seeing so many familiar faces, because I hadn't seen everybody before. I actually was a little bit sick the day before the wedding, so I didn't go party at the pool with everybody. I was just like in my room with my sisters to myself. And I was in the spa. I didn't come out until I had
Deserve
to.
it.
Yes, thank you. So, but when I saw him, I just couldn't stop smiling. You know, I had my dad with me. Thank God it was a short walk. And I mean, just to see Brian just smiling from ear to ear, it was all so special. So I was just happy. I couldn't get emotional. I was just happy.
I love that.
Allie's all overwhelmed.
Emotional.
Well, that's just so beautiful. And it's so beautiful that, you know, people meet in the oddest ways and that you would meet on a reality show and it worked out.
I know. That's what I keep telling people. I'm like, isn't this crazy? Wait till we have to tell our children this.
Well, I mean, honestly, it's either you meet on The Bachelor or a dating app. So, like,
These days.
are you going to tell them, you know, you're saying one or the other?
Yeah. And it's,
I'd rather
who
say The
knows
Bachelor.
in 10 years what the normal babe, right? Well, you can still apply. Wouldn't you love that, though?
Yes.
And then she could give you the inside scoop
I
about
know.
what's going on.
I know. Never put
I
me
know.
on.
She definitely wants to be a Bachelorette.
You would never put me on for that reason.
She'd have to first go through The Bachelor and be a contestant because they all start from that.
Yeah,
It's sort of like an addition.
You would go far.
Oh.
Help me.
Now, Rachel, how's it been living in Miami?
You know, okay, so maybe this is where the conversation takes a turn. I am not the biggest fan of Miami. It's a great place to vacation. Like, people are like, oh my gosh, you live in Miami. And I'm like, yeah, it's great for a few days, but to live there, it's just a completely different experience from what I'm used to. Dallas is so different. I don't really have a lot of friends. I have Brian's family there, which is great, but Brian works because he started his new practice there, which is why we moved there. So when I am there, it's just me and Copper. So it's different.
Copper's your dog?
Copper's my dog, yes. And so it's taking some getting used to. I travel all the time, so I'm not really there that much.
Right.
But it hasn't grown on me yet, if I'm honest.
Do you feel like if you stay there and like don't travel as much, then maybe it will? And maybe because you're just jumping around a lot, or no?
No. Because I travel all the time, you would think that, it's Miami's just a vacation for me. So it's like I come home, I'm by the water,
Right.
we're right there on the water. You think I would say I love it because it's just fun. No. I just don't feel it.
Yeah.
But we do
feel
need
it.
you to get registered to vote there.
Honey, you know that I will. If I have to, if I'm not, I will go back to Texas and vote. Don't you worry. I'm big on
One
that.
or the other,
Yeah,
right?
but that's true. Both states
Both
need you.
are important.
But Florida's a swing state for sure.
Is Florida gonna be a swing?
Yes.
Listen, this is a whole other conversation.
Okay.
You're
Yeah.
right. My vote might not count as much in Texas.
Yeah, swing. It will really count in Florida. Now, you're traveling, I assume, because you've been filming this really fascinating new show for MTV called Ghosted.
Exactly. I've been doing it all summer, and it's kind of like it's my baby. So the fact that it's now premiering is very, very exciting. Myself and my co-host Travis, we've spent, like
That's
I said,
Travis
all summer.
Mills.
Yes, Travis Mills. It's a funny story. I was doing his podcast, was a guest on his podcast, and he is not into reality TV and doesn't believe it and is the biggest skeptic. And I'm like, listen, Travis, I was you. That's how I used to be. And we start talking about how I got on the show and just my dating history. And then we start talking about ghosting. And I'm telling my story. He's telling his story. And we're like, oh, we're not alone. This is a thing. This is an issue. We need to tackle this. And here we are tackling it. Now it's about to premiere for everyone else to see. And you'll get to see all these other ghosting stories, it's crazy.
So this was your idea.
Yes and no.
Like,
yes.
you kind of cooked it up together?
Yes, I don't want to take all the credit, but definitely our idea to work together.
Well, that's really interesting. And did you thought, hey, we've got to turn this into some kind of a show? And so did you like develop it more? And then how did it go from there?
Well, yes, we did. And then also working with the network that also had this concept as well. And so MTV. And from there, we just, like they, of course, which is an issue I know we'll talk about later, we're vetting people and different stories and trying to figure out which cases we should take on. And we have the haunted, is what we call them, submit videos to us. And then we go through it, we understand the story, we fly to meet them, and then we take on the case from there.
So what exactly is the premise? Like, what are you and Travis doing?
So we are not the Ghostbusters, as some people may be calling us. We are just two people who have been ghosted before. And Travis has actually done some ghosting on his side. And I'm not outing him. He'd tell you that himself. So we've been ghosted. We get that this is a huge issue. And so we're trying to tackle
it. This is a modern romance issue.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's mean. I think it's one of the meanest things you can do to somebody.
But it's becoming acceptable.
Yeah.
Because it's just, that's just what people do. They ghost. Well, to Travis and I, it's a problem.
Yeah.
And so the premise of the show really is, okay, hey, you got ghosted. Somebody that you care about completely disappeared from your life without giving you any type of explanation. Sometimes they've gone through the extent of blocking you on social media, blocking your phone calls, your text messages. You've tried to reach out to them, but you can't. And
so it's like somebody that you've been involved with romantically.
That's one aspect, but as we started digging in, it's also friendships.
Friends.
Yes.
It's family members. And so it goes deeper than
Family
that.
members.
Yeah, it goes deeper than that. And so we thought, okay, let's just reach out to people or have people reach out to us, take their cases on, and then help them find closure. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're realizing this is about. We just want to give them the answers. They've exhausted all other resources. They're reaching out to us to see if we can help. And if we can, we do.
And so they have been in a relationship, whether it was romantic, a friendship, family, and all of a sudden that other person just stops replying to their phone calls, their texts, and even goes to the extent of blocking them.
It's
Wow.
really mean.
It's really mean.
And you see, like, when we talk to people, they say things as if, well, in this day and age with social media, can't you just follow them on social media and see what they're doing? Well, there's two aspects to that. One, if you're not blocked, you're watching them live their best life without you. But you also see that they're not responding to anything that you're sending them. They're okay. You're not. You're trying to figure out what happened. On the other end, people go through the extent of blocking you on every single platform, which is even more harsh. And you're just
really
left,
cruel.
Yeah, you're left not understanding why.
Why? And the only thing that I feel like, too, is like you just want to learn from it or like grow from it and just know what
Happened.
you did or what went wrong.
And it's funny you say that because a lot of people we talk to are in a place of blaming themselves.
Yeah.
They're like, well, they ghosted me. What did I do wrong? I must have done something. And when we find out through investigating these stories and when we finally find out why the person ghosted, it truly has to do with the ghost. It's something that they did or they're dealing with or a problem that's completely not even related or even a third party is the issue.
Totally.
So a third party convinced them or gave them an ultimatum?
A third party might be the wedge that came in between them. Like, for example, the first episode, the premiere episode, that's an issue that comes up when we're trying to figure out what's going on.
And how do you figure things out? Like you're digging into their
Like when you
past,
said
what do
you're
do?
taking on the case.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Well, we do because we get these video submissions. We take out our iPad. We listen to their story briefly. It's about 2 minutes. And so then we fly to the city to meet them. And we get in more depth. We ask questions. We investigate. This is where the lawyer skills come in. Travis has a podcast, so he's great with conversation and getting the truth out of people and just getting people to open up. And so we ask all the right questions, and then from there we say, okay, have you tried to reach out to the ghost? How have you tried? Well, they may have blocked you, but we have a different interest in this whole thing. We're not blocked. So then we look at maybe the ghost social media. We send a message. We start contacting mutual friends that they have. We start talking to family members who may be able to give us some insight into the situation. And from there, we're able to put the pieces together and hopefully get them to confront each other at the end. And the goal is for the ghost to say why they ghosted, but also for the haunted to be able to speak their piece. Let the ghost know how you felt over these months, these years in some situations. What has this done to you? How have you not been able to move on? Ask them why they ghosted you. Ask them to give you something so you know maybe it's a lesson that you can learn for yourself, and maybe it's something that you can say, okay, and you can move on from it. Or maybe y'all can rectify whatever the situation is, the relationship is.
So was it hard to get people who did the ghosting to agree? Did you go down a lot of avenues before you were able to get enough that would agree to do it so you'd have a full story?
Yeah, well, when we would start investigating, you can imagine, somebody from your past, you reach out, we're reaching out, hey, we're Rachel and Travis, we're doing this show with MTV called Ghosting, and your name came up in our investigation. And they're like, they don't believe it. They're like, wait a second, what? And then if they do call, then they're like, who contacted you? I don't want to deal with them. I ghosted them for a reason. So you can imagine it's a road, and Travis and I really have to do some negotiating to try to get the person to show up, to try to get the person to understand why they're here, and just kind of say, hey, don't you just want to put an end to this? Don't you think they deserve it? It's fair for them to understand it. We know it may be hard for you to express why you did it, but you get it. They don't. At least give them that.
Are the ghosters like real jerks?
Some of them are.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like, even in the first episode,
Yeah.
my temper flares up. Travis has to calm me down. I mean, like total big rage mode. I was not okay with this guy. And sometimes that was Travis doing that, and I'm having to calm him down. But they're not all jerks. Sometimes we dealt with this really heavy episode. Really heavy, and you'll know it when you see it. And it was actually in Travis's hometown of Riverside. So he was all excited to go back, and his parents are actually on the episode. And then when it came to the issue of why the person ghosted, it was deep, and none of us were expecting it. So they're not all jerks. Some of them have a reason as to why they ghosted. Not that ghosting is okay, but you can understand why the conversation was hard. And I think another thing people will realize watching the show is that we don't know why they ghosted. You may think because we're the host that we know at the end. We have no idea. So in real time, we're trying to figure this out, and we're learning at the same time new things with the haunted. So every time when they say, the real reason I ghosted you, we're like, what is it? Because we don't know.
Wow.
And now, did you ever misread people, like think, oh, this is going to be the reason, and then it turned out to be something just completely different?
Oh, there's this one episode, and I actually think it's in one of the, so 2 episodes there first, and so I think it's one of these. I mean, I was team this person. They could do no wrong in my eye, and I was so against, the person that ghosted this person. I'm trying to use I don't want you to know he, she's, or whatever. I'm trying not to use pronouns. And I was just like, oh, they're awful. And then as the story progressed and we find out why the person ghosted, I was like, I feel played. I actually shed a tear of it. I cry a few times in these episodes. So yeah, there are times where we think we know the person, and then they're not really telling the truth.
Wow.
Was
so
that disappointing
interesting
to you?
It is, especially because I think I read people well.
Yeah.
And I really became invested in their story, and I'm really trying to help you find, your reason, because I've been ghosted and I know what it's like to be in that place. Yeah.
Energy.
And then they played me.
Now, you have a pretty intense ghosting story.
I do.
Yes, about what happened to you. Do you want to share it?
Yes, let me talk about my muse, for this whole thing. So I was dating a guy. This was like 10 years ago. Dating a guy, and we're long distance, but we're in college, so it's whatever. And I'm with, I never said this part, I was actually at church, of all places. Because New Year's Eve, I will never forget this.
Oh, God.
New Year's Eve, I'm at church, and I'm talking to the friend who actually introduced me to this guy. And he says, we're just talking about people from back home. It's Christmas holidays. And he's like, man, everyone has a child. And I said, no, so-and-so doesn't. And I'm talking about my boyfriend. And he looks at me with the most dumbfounded look. And this guy's a jokester, so I'm thinking, okay, you're just
kidding me.
Yeah, we're in church now, remember? And he's like, no, he calls me twin. He's like, no, twin. He has a kid. So we step outside. He calls him on speaker, and he says, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I hear my boyfriend say, "I'm at the mall with my baby and my baby mama." I mean, can you imagine? I'm
wow. And how long have you been dating him?
My boyfriend has a child.
Punch in the
Yeah. And how long had you been together?
We almost a year at that point. And you could just, I'm like, okay, is the child like 5 years old? No, the child had been born like 2 months ago.
Oh.
So it impregnated and had the baby all while we were dating. Now,
and how far was your distance?
it was Oklahoma and Texas. He went to college in Oklahoma, went to college in Texas. And so I end up taking him back because there was a time where we did have a break. I was a different person 10 years ago. We did have a break. And when I did the calculation, I'm like, okay, that was when we took this month and a half off. Not that makes it okay because you lied to me all these months, but I'm still like, okay, as long as you don't have a relationship with the child's mother, then we're okay. And he's like, no, that's not what it is. But I want to be in my child's life. Okay, we continue to date. A whole nother year passes. I get a call end of the year from the child's mother who is basically confronting me, wants to know the status of my relationship because she's been in a relationship with him. And I tell her the truth. And he calls me later and he gets upset. And somehow we find our way back to each other anyway.
What? Now, wait a second. The child's mother calls you, asks you the status of your relationship, and then did you not say, well, what's the status of your relationship?
Oh, she told me. She said they were together. And I said, well, we're together too. And
it's like he's a bigamist.
And we talked it out, and I'm just like,
What?
okay. I mean, I was back in. I wouldn't say I was all the way in, but I was still in enough, right? That was my main guy. Let's just put it like that. So then a couple of months passed by, and I call him one day.
And when were you seeing him? Like, how often would you see him?
I'm trying to think what type of year, because this was over a few years. College, I actually I hadn't started law school yet, so I was back in Dallas. So then he would come in Dallas, because I took a year off between college and law school. So he's from Dallas too. So I saw him quite a bit. In college, I wasn't into seeing somebody every single day. This is a different time.
So you saw him quite a bit. You're in the same city, and somehow you had the thought that he wasn't really involved with the other woman.
So he was back and forth between Dallas and Oklahoma, and the child is in Oklahoma. So it made sense why he had to be gone. It was very possible. And remember, social media wasn't big wasn't that big. So it's not like I could stalk her or him and find out what was going on. So a couple of months passed by. I call him one day, and the phone says the number you've reached is no longer in service. And I thought, oh, surely that's a mistake. So I call again and again and again and again, and same message every single time. And then I realized he has changed his phone number on me and didn't tell me. And that was, so at the time, you're not like, oh, he ghosted you. It's like, he just completely disappeared. And I had no way of contacting him. None.
I would be like, he better be dead.
In my gut, it was like, he probably is with her. And certain things happened. The writing was on the wall, right? I was just young and dumb. And then it wasn't until another 2 years later, I run into him, and
you just never heard from him again.
Never.
Wow.
I never
After
talked to
dating
him.
Did you like
for
email
over 2
him,
years.
like anything like that? Like the phone number?
Well, because email existed.
Email existed. I didn't even try to email him. We have mutual friends.
Yeah.
So I would ask. So I knew he was alive.
Yeah.
But nobody wanted to tell me what the deal was.
Were you not like just heartbroken?
Oh, I was devastated. And I never told this. There's so many layers to the story. But at one point, I remember I read a letter to him, and I was crying, and I was just like expressing my feelings and how much I was into him, and I wanted him to fully commit to me. And when I go back and I think about that, he consoled me, but he didn't agree to what I was saying. I'm just like I wanted him so badly, best thing I never had.
Yeah.
Really, because I never truly had.
So when you were still together, you had written a letter to him,
Yeah.
and that you shared with him, expressing your feelings. Yeah. And you realized in retrospect, he never really reciprocated in a commitment way. But when he ghosted you, and it dawned on you that he'd actually blocked your phone. Like, were you crying? Were you?
I was embarrassed. Yeah. I was, because now people say, oh, I got ghosted. Oh, I got ghosted too. It's a thing. It wasn't a thing back then. It was embarrassing when Other people may have seen that like he was a dirty dog and are like, I told you so. It's embarrassing to say he literally changed his number on me. Like nobody was talking about that then. So I was devastated by it, but then I just picked myself up and like kind of brushed my feelings under the rug and kept it moving. But when I look back, I never in those 2 years had a serious relationship. I would date, but I couldn't fully commit because I couldn't trust. So 2 years later, when I found out, what had happened, because I talked to him, and he told me I didn't know how to leave you alone. I just couldn't. So I just changed my number and disappeared because I knew that I needed to create a family unit for my child. I respect that. I just wish you would have told me something.
Yeah.
And we're cool to this day. Matter of fact, when I found out that I was doing this show, I told him, thanks. I'm able to use this story and you're my muse for it. So I thank you. I've turned, something that was a bad thing into something beautiful. And now I'm able to help other people who have gone through the same thing, if not worse.
Is he still with that other woman?
Yeah, they have another child. They're married now.
Okay.
My gosh, at this point, after today, it had to have gotten back to him because back home, people know who he is.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
He knows who he is.
But you know what? Yeah, you wonder if somebody who has ghosted somebody else, like, can they ever really be trusted in a relationship if they've done that to one person? Could they not do that? Like, I could never just ghost somebody. So if you're capable of doing that, how can anyone else ever trust you that you won't do that to them?
It's very, very true. And it's a really good point. I think in my situation, she might know now, but at the time, I don't think that she knew what he did to me. I'm sure he probably said he cut it off with me, but that wasn't the case. He did cut it off by changing his number, not officially ending our relationship.
Wow. That's intense.
It is intense.
Yeah.
It is intense. But, it's all good now. And like I said, we're cool with each other.
Now, so the show is starting September 9th? No, today's September. Today's starting today.
Yeah.
Tonight. Okay, well, we're posting this right away. For all your listeners, you are hearing it on the day of the show. And what time is it on?
9 p.m. Eastern and Pacific.
Okay. So we know what we'll be tuning into.
Yeah. And you wanted to sound off too on what were people saying about the show, that they were
That's right. You've had some
stalkers?
criticism about it because people have been saying, well, isn't what you're doing kind of like stalking people?
Yeah. And I'm glad that we get to address that. Travis and I both were like, what? No, absolutely not. Obviously, these people have been vetted before they come on the show.
Right.
We're obviously not promoting anything, any type of abusive or violent behavior. We're not promoting stalking by any means. These are truly people who have reached out to us who are upset and they're sad and they feel lost and they need our help. And that's all we're trying to do is get answers. We're not trying to mend relationships, bring them back together. That is the decision of the haunted and the ghost. We're just there to give that person the closure that they're looking for. And that's it. And I just encourage people to watch the show and you'll see that from the first episode to the last episode this season. You'll see that that's not what this show's about. It's really about helping people and it's entertaining.
I'm sure.
And the thing is that if you had people that let's say the people who were ghosted and you tried to contact the ghoster, then if they didn't agree or they didn't want to, you backed off. It wasn't like you were stalking them.
Yeah,
I
think that the criticism was about people worried that they were helping stalkers find the people that they've been stalking that don't want to be found. Right?
Yeah. It was some of that, but it was also like
that you guys are stalking
what if
people?
somebody ghosted someone because they were in an abusive relationship? Well, we're not trying to help those people. And we're also, to your point, not camping outside waiting for someone to come out because the ghost is afraid of or doesn't want to be found. That's not what it is. If you see them on TV, they're there because they want to be there.
Yeah.
Right, that everybody's agreed. Mm-hmm. Everyone involved has agreed to the whole process.
Right. And they've all been vetted.
You vetted to make sure that you weren't dealing with, like, the haunted was not some kook.
Exactly.
They're like real life just normal people that had this experience, like what happened with you.
And I'm hoping people's stories can help other people.
I think
Even
it will.
me sharing my story, you're not alone out there. Unfortunately, it is an epidemic. It's a thing. But we're hoping that we can bring back the art of conversation where people can just communicate and just have those tough conversations and just say, hey, this is why I ghosted you. This is why I'm leaving you. You know, just grow up. Put on your big boy
I know.
hat.
Allie keeps making faces. I have a feeling you've been ghosted.
Yeah.
Would you like to? Do we have an application for her? Do we have an application?
I'm going to be on every show Rachel's ever been on.
But it sucks, right?
Yeah, no, it's terrible.
Has it happened to you more than once?
Yes, twice. But most recently it was like in end of April.
And was it somebody you've
I
been
haven't
seeing
gone to
for a
date anyone
while?
since. Yeah. Haven't dated
And
anyone
after how long did they ghost you? Like, how long have you been seeing them?
since. Been together for like 3.5, 4 months. But I've known him for like 15 years.
What?
Wow.
Yeah.
And then after 3, all of a sudden, they just stopped returning calls, texts. Did they block you?
No. Did not block me.
So you can see what's happening on social media.
Yeah.
You
I
can see-
eventually unfollowed them myself because I didn't know like what I was like upset and angry. And
That's so upsetting. Why do you think that this has become such a phenomena, and why people think it's acceptable?
I want to blame social media because I think that people don't know how to communicate the same way that they do anymore. It's easier just to hit a button and block someone. I've been saying this. We don't even talk to each other the same way. We communicate in pictures and emojis, and rather than just having those tough conversations. It's really sad. It's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
It's a cowardly thing to do to ghost someone, but to the ghoster, it's just easy. They just don't want to deal with the confrontation of it.
Yeah.
Well, now there's a new show out that will confront you.
Well, I think it's so interesting too, and I don't know if I got to talk to you about this, but I've said it in the office because when everything happened with Blake on Bachelor in Paradise this season, and everything happened with Jed, with Hannah, and whatever that guy's name, Parker. I don't know.
Luke, yes.
And just like these shitty guys, it's because, and it's every single season. The guys are shittier and shittier. It's not because the producers are choosing bad guys. It's because that is what the majority population of men, median age 25, that's how they behave. And they're assholes. Sorry, but it's true. And like that's how they act. That's how they behave. That's how they treat women, and they think it's fine. And like they
Just think any woman like that that it doesn't matter that they've got a girlfriend. It's all about fame and whatever
it's all about
attention
them.
they,
Like my friend looked at me the other day and she was like, I looked at my coworker the other day and to a guy and she was like, how cool would it be to just think about yourself for one day and just like be a man and just think only about yourself. Like imagine not thinking about anybody else.
And it's strange because, mothers should be more liberated. They should be raising sons that are much more appreciative of women today.
Agreed.
You would think.
I think it's also, too, that people excuse the behavior.
It's excused.
Just the same way that ghosting is just accepted. It's just what we do now. Oh, that's just how men act. No, it's not okay. Like, let's just hold them accountable for their actions. Like, let's change this behavior. It is sad. It's hard out there. Like, you're not alone. Like, I have a lot of friends who are dealing with this.
Yeah.
And how can we change it? Create shows that confront people about it.
Create shows.
Well, it is true. A show can have a cultural effect. But I was just thinking that when you were on The Bachelorette, you had to have those tough conversations and in front of cameras. So it wasn't like you could ghost any of the contestants on the show.
No, but you know what I will say is I couldn't give everybody the reason as to why they were getting eliminated. It was like you're just not getting a rose. But for some people, they have no idea why they didn't unless they were able to ask me at Men Tell All. That's really your only chance.
Yeah, you kind of got like the easy way out.
Yeah.
You're like, you just didn't get a rose. I'm sorry.
So sorry. I only have 4.
Now, so the first season of Ghosted is done. So I guess you guys are hoping that it will be such a hit that not only will it change behavior among the men, particularly out there, though there was women who ghosted on your show.
Yeah, women do ghost too.
Yeah.
I will say women ghost.
So that this will become a regular thing. You'll be able to, there'll be another season. But are you also, you and Brian, Are there any plans for a family?
Yes, we definitely want to start a family. I think I just need to settle down a bit and figure out where we're going to plant our roots. I know you've heard me talk about Miami, so I'm not quite sure where that's going to be, but we definitely want that. So, stay tuned.
Yeah,
maybe
it's football
I seem
season.
to always
You're
make
like-
announcements on your podcast, so who knows? But I have some things that are more stable, like the radio show. I'm doing it from home now, or wherever I am, so I don't have to travel every week.
That's following NFL football and commenting.
And then I have the new podcast that's just all dedicated to The Bachelor Happy Hour. And again, I can do that from home too. So more stable things that are allowing me to possibly add to the family. We'll see. I'm getting a lot of pressure from my mother-in-law. So.
Yes, I bet.
She's a tough cookie.
Oh, she literally, when we came home from Greece, we went by his parents' houses to say hi. And then I made a comment about something about how I feel. And then she goes, "Do you want some wine?" And she goes, "No, you might be pregnant." Let's just, and I go, "I'm not pregnant."
No, I'm sorry.
Not my grandbaby. And I was like, "Your grandbaby has 4 legs. And he's right there in front of you."
Pet it. Oh, that's so funny. She's
She's a character.
yeah.
Well, when you have some news, you must make sure to tell Allie and I first.
You know I always stop by.
She does.
Do I not?
She always comes by. That's what I was telling Bonnie. I was like, "Is Rachel going to come promote her new show?" I was like, "She always comes through to Hollywood Life."
And funny enough, I don't know if you caught this at the Knot, but we gave away our wedding date in something that we said. I don't know if you realized that.
No, I knew that. I knew the wedding date because also you had posted on your Instagram like 100 days away or something,
But
and
it wasn't
You
100
were wrong.
days. It was-
And literally, and one of our colleagues had sent in, and she was like, "It's this weekend." Blah 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 blah. I go, "No, it's not." And she goes, "Well, then Rachel can't count."
I couldn't. I did it, and I was like, people kept saying the date, and I was like, "Oh my God, it's not 100 days." But at the Knot, Brian goes, "Oh, I know. I'm totally gonna miss the Florida Miami
the
game."
game.
And I go,
Oh, no.
And I turn to him and I go, "You can figure out what date that is, Brian." He didn't. He said it multiple times, and I thought,
he was really upset about
I was like,
missing
"Well,
the
forget
game."
it."
Well,
see,
that's just
we were
another thing
gonna-
guys do.
But we were gonna publish it either. But I see what gave it away for me. I honestly didn't even think about the football game. Was that he was like, "My bachelor party's the week before," and so I was waiting for him to have the bachelor party, and then I was like, "All right, so now we're all ready." But we
See, that
Rachel,
Brian.
honestly, we've had your wedding pre-rights done for like 6 months. It was ready to go up whether we knew your date or not. Like honestly, probably more than 6 months. Probably like right after the bachelor. You got engaged.
We always
We've been
get
married
ready.
for 2 years.
Okay, well,
gotta
we'll
be
start.
prepped.
Well, we'll get our baby pre-write done.
Yeah, get it done.
Pre-write. There we go.
Oh, that's why I love coming here. It's always so much fun.
We love you.
Yes, and we're really excited about Ghosted on MTV. And so it will be Tuesday nights, 9 o'clock Eastern. And congratulations.
Thank you so
And
much.
thank you for starting the cultural revolution. We will stop ghosting.
That's right.
Yes.
Stop ghosting.
Thank you guys
Okay,
so much.
thank you.